and welcome to Verbling. I'm teacher Oakley. For the next hour, we are going to conclude our little series this week at this hour, looking at perfect tenses. Past couple of days, we've looked at present perfect, past perfect, and today, future perfect. We'll look at how it's formed, and we'll basically look at, normally we would look at the uses. Really, future perfect tense, there's basically one purpose, one use for this verb tense. We'll look at that and talk about special nuances and circumstances involved with the verb tense, maybe look at the passive form. And you guys will practice forming some sentences using the verb tense as well. Okie doke, let's get started. Let me welcome students to the class. Maybe check your microphone. Mustafa, welcome back.
Thank you, teacher.
Hello again. And hello again. Hello. Hello again, Sam. Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Again. And we're joined by Yanni.
Hi, teacher.
Well, hello. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Jenny. That's fine.
What?
Jenny?
Is it Jamie or Yanni?
No, Jenny.
Janie. Okay, cool. I can handle Janie. A good friend named Janie. Okay. Where are you from?
I'm from Colombia. I had I have took classes with you before.
Okay. I'm old, getting a little senile. But it doesn't bother me, clearly. Okay. Okay, Victor, welcome back as well.
Hi.
Hey there.
How are you doing?
Hi again. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to share some material with you all, and we'll start looking at the future perfect, talking about it. Well, let me quickly welcome Juan Pablo. Hello.
Hi everyone, this is Juan Pablo.
Hi, Juan Pablo. Where are you from?
I'm from Ecuador.
Ecuador. Cool. Okay, great.
Yes.
Well, welcome to the class. Nice to have you. All right. Now, onwards to the lesson. I'm going to do a screen share here. We're going to start talking about the future perfect. All right. First of all, the form. There are two forms for the future perfect. And they are will have, done, if done is the main verb here, or be going to have done. Unlike simple future forms, these are interchangeable. Never mind the usually. They are interchangeable. You don't have to worry about it. Simple future forms, which are will do and be going to do, you do have to somewhat concern yourself with the use. In general, you use the going to form to talk about a plan, something that has been thought of previously, a future action that has been thought of previously, and you tend to use the will form for something you just thought of now, or to volunteer, make offers, accept offers, reject offers. I won't do it. I will pick you up at the airport. These kinds of things. So there's a little difference in simple future forms, which form you're going to use. Not an issue looking at today's verb tense, which is future perfect. Okay, looking at the forms a little more closely. Okay, will, and then of course the perfect have, and the past participle. Of course, the past participle for regular verbs just has ed. Irregular verbs, of course, you have to learn the present or infinitive form, the past form, and the past participle form. All right. In basic sentences, it would look something like this. You, subject noun, the person, place, or thing doing the action, then your entire verb construction together will have perfected. And in this case, we have an object noun, your English. That's it. Now, by the time you come back from the US, all right, we'll talk about that second part of the sentence later, which is necessary for the future perfect. In the question form, as in all question forms, the subject noun is reversed with or transposed with the first auxiliary. So instead of you will becomes will you. And then the rest of the sentence construction have perfected. Rest of the sentence is the same. In the negative form, okay, the not adverb will follow the first auxiliary. In fact, that's where the adverbs belong, so that's where not belongs. You will not have perfected your English by the time you come back from the US. Of course, colloquial spoken English, conversational English, while it is possible to use the contracted form of you will, you'll not have perfected your English. Frankly, that sounds a little weird, a little formal, and in general, native speakers, when given a choice, will probably tend to contract the auxiliary and not if there's a choice. In this case, it's a little different than normal because the contracted form in the negative is won't. So if I were saying this as a native speaker, I would say you won't have perfected your English by the time you come back from the US. The other form is be going to. The verb to be, the initial auxiliary verb to be, is dependent on first, second, third person. I am, he is, she is, it is, they are, we are, you are. And then this entire auxiliary construction, going to have, is always the same. And then your main verb, past participle of your main verb. Same thing, subject first, and then the entire verb construction for an affirmative sentence. You are going to have perfected your English by the time you come back from the US. Same thing in the question. The first auxiliary, and only the first auxiliary, is transposed with the subject noun. If you happen to need an interrogative like who, what, where, why, when, that goes in front of the first auxiliary here. So maybe, when are you going to have perfected your English? Something like that. All right, and same thing in the negative. The not, again, following the first auxiliary. Here, again, you have the choice. You're not going to have perfected your English, but again, most native speakers would say you aren't going to have perfected your English. And in fact, reduced pronunciation, maybe you aren't gonna, G-O-N-N-A sounding. You're not gonna have perfected your English, possibly. We like to reduce these auxiliaries in spoken English because they're only function words. They're not content. They don't have any real meaning. They're just used for grammar. Okay. All right. Well, we already said this. Really no difference in meaning. You don't have to worry about which form. You can choose whichever form you want when you're using future perfect. Really doesn't change the meaning in the sentence. It's up to you, your preference, the rhythm of your speaking, and what have you. Sam, going to is gonna. Yeah, want to is wanna. Yes, that's correct, Sam, but in addition, wanna is also want a. I want a banana. I want a banana. I want to go to Miami. Okay, I want to go to Miami. So wanna is the reduced form of either want to or want a. Could be either. You gotta figure it out in context. Okay, you guys are gonna practice this sentence to illustrate this. So let's look at really the only use of future perfect. It is used to discuss a completed action before another action or another specific time in the future. All right, you're trying to express the idea that something will occur before another action in the future. So, or perhaps before a specific time in the future. So this little diagram here, the future perfect is represented by the little purple circle there. There it is. So you're expressing the idea that this occurs before this purple X, which would be either another action in the future or possibly could be a specific time in the future, this purple X. Take note, please, of the little crazy orange oval around our representative of the future perfect. Okay, that action could be any time. It could have even been in the past. Notice it could be now, it could be in the future, but the idea is that it has to be any time before this other future action or future specific time. Very important, specific time. It has to be specific. Okay, let's look at some examples. All right, by next November, boom. All right, in this case, specific time. Next November is our purple X. I will have received my promotion. Okay, that's our future perfect. That's our little purple circle here. Okay, this promotion is going to happen before November. Okay, when we say by next November, that means like November 1st. Okay, another example. And with a common time phrase, I mean time phrase that would be commonly used in conjunction with the future perfect, by the time. All right, by the time he gets home, she's going to have cleaned the entire house. There you go. Okay, by the time he gets home is our purple X here. She's going to have cleaned the entire house. I'm not going to finish this test by 3 o'clock. All right, another specific time. In the question form, will she have learned enough Chinese to communicate before she moves to Beijing? Okay, Sam is probably going to have completed the proposal by the time he leaves this afternoon. Notice, please take note, our little purple X's, when it's an action, he gets home. Notice the main verb. The verb is in italics. He gets home. She moves to Beijing. He leaves this afternoon. I finish this course. Notice that they are all in the simple present tense. Okay, don't let this twist your mind. All right, even though this action, this purple X, is clearly and obviously the action which is obviously in the future, you're going to use a present simple tense to express that action. And the future perfect, even we don't know when exactly it happened before the action. Could be now, could be a little in the future, could be a little in the past. We don't know. That may seem strange, but there's a reason for that. That reason being that you absolutely cannot use any future tense, simple future, future perfect, future continuous, future perfect continuous, none of them ever, 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 never, ever, ever, ever can it be used in a time clause. That is to say, a clause which starts with a time subordinator, like by the time, when clauses, all right? Clauses are basically incomplete sentences. They have a subject and a verb, when we introduce one with a subordinator, like when or while or by the time or before or after, if and unless are also, keep this in mind, are also time subordinators. If we start a clause with any of these time subordinators, we are just not ever allowed grammatically to use a future tense. Ever, ever, ever. In any case. So we have to use the next best thing, the next tense, the next, all right, time tense down, which is present tense. So we use present tense to talk about
Always.
always. Always, always, always. Always. And it really doesn't matter any combination of tenses you're using. Always. If you're using one of the time subordinators to start a sentence, you're just simply not allowed to, well, okay. All right, I'm saying always. All right, well, wait a minute. Yeah, you're always. I was going to say that you don't use, I'm sorry, don't let me, I'll just shut up before I say something wrong. Always. Even, you might, for example, conditional sentences with if, you could use a present tense for the first conditional. You could use a past tense for the second conditional. You can use a past perfect for the third conditional or hypothetical conditional, hypothetical in the past, but you never, ever a future tense. That's right. So it may be other tenses. It doesn't have to be always present tense, but it cannot be a future tense. Okay. All right. So looking at these examples, all right, now you guys, I would like you to attempt, to the best of your ability, to form a sentence which expresses the idea that one action will happen before the other action. You're going to have to use either two clauses because you have two actions, or you're going to have to use a time phrase like by 3 o'clock, by next November. If you choose to use a time phrase, remember it has to be specific. All right, let's give it a shot. Mustafa, I'm getting tired of talking, so go ahead, see if you can.
Actually, this is a very valuable information you said about time subordinates or the future tense. Okay. Okay. Like, will I have visited Philippines by by November? Okay, by November this year. Next year.
Okay, you said will I have?
Yeah. Visited Philippines by November next year.
Oh, I don't. If you do. Okay. Oops, there it is. This would be a question then.
Yeah, question.
Okay. Yeah. All right, then that's correct. All right, have first auxiliary transposed with the subject noun I. Will I have visited Philippines by November next year? I don't know. That would be lovely if you did. Okay, we could talk about this stuff in person. Okay. Very good. Yeah, that's perfectly correct. Okay, by November next year. That's a specific time. Good. All right. Perfectly correct. Sam, you want to give it a try? Sam?
Yes, I'm
Hi.
here.
Hello.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. By next year, I will have. I will. I will. I will. I will buy, not have, but I will buy.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
I will buy. I will buy Hmm. Okay, by next year, something is finished before future.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. By next November, um, I will have gotten,
Uh-huh.
I will have gotten, a new house, uh, a new, yes, I will get a new house, gotten a new house or new apartment, something like that.
Okay. Are you giving me
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
a list? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Uh, okay. Well, all
A
right.
new apartment got, or I will have gotten
Okay. If
a
you're giving
car,
me
a new car, a car
okay.
as well. Hmm.
All right. Okay.
And car and a new car,
And
or and yes,
I mixed up with your ors and ands. Usually, you're either going to get a house or an apartment. So,
apartment. Yeah.
so maybe or to show choice or option. I will have gotten a new house or a new car
Hmm.
or a new house or a new apartment and a new car or a new
Hmm.
car.
And
Okay. Well, good for you. Be having a
thank.
good year. Uh, okay.
Hope so.
I just okay. When we were a little bit struggling at the beginning, okay, because you said I will buy, which is simple future. I want to show you something here.
Hmm. Hmm.
You reminded me. Okay, if I just say next year,
Hmm.
then I would use simple future. Next year I
Okay.
will buy whatever, a new car.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
why? What is the difference? Buy next year and next year.
Because something before future, we
Right.
right before future, and from now up to before future, I have finished some what I want.
Uh, uh, yeah, okay, I think you have the idea, but
Hmm.
to look at it another way, next year,
Hmm.
without buy, next year, this X would be stretched out. It would be a line. Next year's a long time. That's
Okay.
2016. That's 365 days. That is
Hmm.
a non-specific time.
Okay. It means it should be next by next year, or we can say that 19. Sorry, 2016
Okay,
specific time.
okay, well, let's talk about that.
Hmm.
By next year means by January 1st, 2016. That's very specific. But
Okay.
next year is the whole year.
Hmm.
Okay, if you wanted to use a specific time,
Hmm.
you would use by. Okay, it's the same thing. By 2020.
Hmm.
Okay, that actually means literally by January 1st, 2020.
Hmm.
Okay, but if you say in in 2020, then you would
Hmm.
have to use simple tense because that's
Okay.
a
It's very
non-specific time.
long time. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
There is no specific. Okay, right. I understand. So
There you
how I
go.
can change this? Yes, by January 2017. Can I say that like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
still
I
using by.
hmm
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
By
earlier we had by
hmm
November. All right.
Okay.
By Tuesday, by 2017. Yeah,
Okay, I got it. Yes,
the
thanks.
key is that by that makes it. So we use these by whatever time phrases. Obviously, they're quite handy for future perfect tense. I mean, they're almost necessary. They very commonly used together. Uh, okay, Jeannie. Hello. Your
Dear
turn.
teacher, okay. Um, Michael will have visited three countries in South America By August next year. Of next year.
Okay. My what?
Michael.
Michael. Oh,
Uh-huh.
for a second I thought you said my car.
Oh,
My car will have visited. Oh, that's nice. You got one of those Google driverless car things? Okay. All right. We'll have visited 3 countries in South America by August next year. It is okay. I threw in this of in parentheses. It's one of those things where it's not really necessary, but it's common, especially in spoken English. I don't know, just to clarify, I guess. It's not actually necessary. You're perfectly fine saying by August next year.
but what is more formal to say?
Slightly. Yeah.
Oh, without of.
I don't know if it really makes much difference. Yeah, it's slightly more formal to say with of, I think. Slightly.
Okay.
It hardly makes a difference, quite honestly.
Okay.
Just wanted to show you that it's a possibility. Okay, your verb tense usage is perfectly good. All right, Victor, would you like to give it a try?
Okay. We will have read the documentation before we discuss the requirements with the client.
Oh, there's a reason. I like it. We will have read the documentation before we discuss the requirements. That's very good. And I like this because the future perfect is used a lot in business in just such a sentence. Business, of course, you make deals that require future actions. You have deadlines. You have meetings where plans are discussed. You have agreed supply, things you need to supply in an agreed amount in the future. Obviously, there are a lot of commitments that happen in business. Commitments that must be done before the purple X by contract, for example. The bridge will have been finished by the time the contract expires, whatever. Very common to use the future perfect tense in the business negotiations, absolutely, and in the development of contracts and agreements for future actions. So I like it, Victor. Good, very practical.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, Juan Pablo.
Yes. I will have wrote a novel by September of this year.
I don't know. And of, maybe. Okay. One small problem, Juan Pablo, and that is your main verb wrote. We need to use the past participle. Do you know the past participle of wrote? Write, wrote.
Written.
There it is. All right, you got it. That's it. Now it's fine. Okay. An irregular verb. Write is an irregular verb. Okay. All right. This is basically the only point of this verb tense. That's all, to show action. Something happens before something else. Occasionally, what we've been kind of looking at is like a finished action or, a single action, but it can be used to talk about duration. when you're using non-continuous verbs. So our diagram would look more like this. This is simply because non-continuous verbs are non-continuous. You cannot use the ing form or present participle form for non-continuous verbs. It's just not possible. It's not possible because most verbs, while most verbs are dynamic, okay, they express an action. Run, swim. Okay. They're dynamic. Some verbs are either stative or they have a stative definition or meaning. If they're stative, they describe a state of existence, state of being, things like ownership, or they describe an emotion. So emotion, think about emotions. I can't say I am hating him. I have to say I hate him. I just simply can't use the ing form. Ownership, you can't say I am owning a new car. You just can't, because that is the state of existence in our reality, in our whatever, our perception of reality. You possess a car. Now, okay, that's it. So there's no way to express that as a continuous action. There are both verbs that can never or should never be used in a continuous fashion, like love, hate, like. And then there are mixed verbs where one definition describes a state and not an actual physical action. Okay, there's a lot of mixed verbs, by the way, and sometimes it's a little subtle, but all right. For example, I will have been in London for 6 months by the time I leave. Okay, you simply cannot say I will have been being in London. You can't use a continuous form. A future perfect continuous form cannot be used. These non-continuous or mixed verbs, doesn't matter future, past, present, perfect continuous, whatever, it doesn't matter. They can't be used in any continuous form. So it always reverts back to a simple form. So it reverts back to simple future perfect instead of future perfect continuous. All right, possession. Here we go. By Monday, Susan is going to have had my book for a week. Again, simply can't say Susan is going to have been having my book for a week. It sounds weird anyway, and it's just actually impossible. Okay, can't do it. Any questions about this? It's really exactly the same use as the first use. Okay. Any questions about this non-continuous mixed verb thing? No? Okay. Okay. A weird exception, or not really an exception. Actually, don't look at this as one more thing to learn. Actually, this is a good thing. One thing that makes it easier. Not just in future perfect or future perfect continuous, but all simple tenses as opposed to continuous tenses. There are some exception words. Live, work, teach, and study. I would actually put learn in here. I think learn can be added to this list. These words, if you think about it, the verb meaning itself is an action that takes a lot of time. You live somewhere, you work somewhere, you teach, you study, you learn. It takes time. And so it can be assumed that these are actions of duration. So, in other words, you can take your choice. You can use these with a continuous verb tense, or you can use these with a simple verb tense. It will be understood by the listener, or should be understood, that these are continuous actions. Common sense dictates that these are actions that take a lot of time. So it makes no difference whatsoever. Okay, if you want to say, I will have lived in London for 6 months by the time I leave, or I will have been living in London for 6 months by the time I leave. Really doesn't matter. It's your choice. It makes no difference. Either one is perfectly okay and acceptable. Okay. Live, work, teach, study. These very, very common verbs. Okay. As I had mentioned previously, no future in time clauses ever, ever, ever. Okay. Any time clauses, any future tense. Okay. It cannot be used in clauses beginning with time expressions such as when. Here we go. While, before, after, by the time, as soon as, if and unless. These are the ones, if and unless, I often hear people try to use a future tense, English learners, that is. I often hear them, if I will. That's just wrong. It's going to be wrong every time. Or unless I will do something. That's just wrong. Okay, so the automatic, the default position, if you will, instead of future perfect, a present perfect is used. Let's see here. As an example, I'm going to see a movie when I will have finished my homework. Okay, you can't do that. You just can't. So instead, you might use a present perfect. So the corrected form would be, I'm going to see a movie when I have finished my homework. That's okay. Present perfect is okay. It's not future. All right? Okay. I am going to see a movie. All right.
So, where's the future perfect in?
What? There is no future perfect in this sentence. It's not possible.
Can I use future perfect with the present perfect?
With the present perfect? Okay, let me think about that. Let me think about that. Okay. I will. Not really. Okay, I think so. Wait a minute. I will have. Well, it's a little weird, right? Let's see. I don't know. Try it. Can you come up with something? All right, it's a little weird. All right, just whatever. I will have seen the movie. It's a finished action. Okay, by the time I have finished my homework, my popcorn. Okay. I will have seen the movie by the time I have finished my popcorn. It's a little weird. It's not necessary. Because you can just say, by the time I finish my popcorn.
Yeah, because you said like
Not necessary.
Okay. So is this like one clause or two clause? Two complex.
Two clauses. Yeah, it's a complex sentence. One independent clause and one dependent clause.
So dependent clause starts with by the time we have to start with the simple present, right? As you said.
Yeah, well, it's just not necessary. It's weird. It's weird to use. It's just strange to use present perfect here. It's not necessary.
Okay.
Because it's going to be a specific action. It has nothing to do with now. You know, you use present perfect to talk about something in the past or something that's related to now. So it's really weird to relate. You know, why would you do this? Again, thinking about that, you use looking at the diagram. You know, the future perfect. The other phrase being represented by the X in this little illustration, this has nothing to do with now. It's hanging out there far in the future. So really, this doesn't work.
Okay.
You know, it just doesn't work. Okay, by the time I finish would be. It doesn't really make sense. So to answer your question, I guess not. It doesn't make sense for that, because always, always that future perfect is going to be that circle, that purple circle there. And it's going to be in conjunction, I suppose, in a third clause, it might be possible. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, since I have finished my homework, I will have completed all my assignments by the time I go back to school on Monday. Ah, there you go. I did it.
Yeah.
Right? So actually, to answer your question in more detail, in a two-clause sentence, no, I think it's impossible. But it is possible in a three-clause sentence. All right?
All right.
All
I
right.
get it. I get it. Just to make sure, teacher, sorry. The first or the previous rule, when we cannot use like non-continuous verb, or sorry, we have to use non-continuous verb. So you mean like maybe by your example, by Monday, Susan is going to have had my book for a week. You mean like had? So we cannot use like verb with the gerund, like with ing, right? Maybe with second like example or second sentence.
Yeah, no, you just can't.
You mean this verb? This verb? Okay.
I mean
Just to
the
make
verb.
sure.
This is a
Okay.
mixed verb. The verb have, it's a mixed verb. Okay. If I use have, okay, have can also be used like meaning host. I'm having a party. I am having a party this weekend. That's fine. Okay, because I'm not saying I am possessing or owning a party. I'm saying I'm hosting it. It's okay. I am having a hard time learning English. Okay, all right. That's okay. But when you use it to mean ownership, it's a little tricky figuring out what's stative and what's not stative, honestly. And sometimes sometimes when I look at some of the more complex, abstract verbs, I have a hard time figuring out if it can be used or not, quite honestly.
Okay.
Some of them are pretty tricky. This is have to mean possessing. Now, if I use a substitute verb like possess or own that has really one solid meaning, there's no way I can use owning like ever. ing with own or ing with possess, never. No way. Not ever, not never.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I had briefly mentioned adverb placement when I was discussing forms, or I don't know, at some point in the lesson. Okay, just to emphasize it again and actually to make a point here. All right, adverbs, commonly adverbs that show frequency, duration, whatever, things like always, only, never, ever, still, just. Even other adverbs, if they're acting on the verb slowly, stupidly, quietly, what have you. Notice the placement here. The adverb is in bold. Notice the placement, again, following that pivotal first auxiliary or helper verb. Look, here it is. It's one of these things in English where, okay, here is one way to do it, and it will always be correct. You do have options. You can move only around. Let's see what happens if I cut and paste it in different places. Okay, you will only have learned a few words. Oopsie. Oopsie. Hang on. Let me. What if I put it in the front? Only you will have learned a few words, as opposed to other people. Well, what happened? It's changed the meaning, is what happened. It's changed the meaning completely. Now we're talking about just you will have learned a few words instead of you've only learned just a few words. They're totally different meanings. Okay, so if you fool around and you move this adverb around, you can totally change the meaning. You only will have learned a few words. Okay, that sounds a little weird. Sometimes it just sounds awkward. It doesn't really work. You will have only learned a few words. Okay, that's fine. You will have learned only a few words. That's fine. You will have learned a few words only. That's fine. Okay. A lot of times you can move the adverbs around and it makes perfect sense and it's perfectly acceptable. Sometimes you move them around and it sounds ridiculous. Or it's just not grammatically possible. Sometimes you move them around and it changes the meaning of the sentence. Okay, so there it is. You have options, but these options have repercussions. If this only is acting on the verb only learned, then this is where it belongs. I mean, this is where it's safe. It safely belongs. It will work every time here, is what I'm trying to say. So, if you need to be careful, you know, your business documents or business letters or something, if you're trying to be careful, then you really should put the adverb here. You can make sure you're not getting it wrong. Notice the placement in a question. Will you only have learned a few words? All right. Behind the inverted auxiliary and subject noun. All right. Doesn't matter. Same thing with the other form of the future perfect. You're only going to have learned a few words. Same thing behind the first auxiliary. It's always. Doesn't matter what verb tense it is. Adverb belongs behind the first auxiliary. Exactly where you put not. Okay, last thing we're going to do here, we're going to look at a passive form. All right, we have only been doing, yes we have, we've only been doing active forms, such as this example. They will have completed the project before the deadline. See, there's a business connotation. Okay. In the passive form, in the active form, we know who did the action. It's they. The action was performed on the object now, the project. Okay. In a passive sentence, the project now becomes the subject, and the action happens to the subject. The project will have been completed before the deadline. Notice there's no they here. That's because I use the passive because I don't care who does the action, or it's obvious who does the action, or I don't even know who's going to do the action specifically. Either of those reasons. The important thing is the action. So very common and again related to business. So it is very common to use passive constructions with future perfect, especially talking about business.
Sorry, teacher. I
yeah.
have a silly question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why we use being here? I forgot.
Okay, let me talk about the form. All right. All passives, all of them, in every verb tense, every passive form of every verb tense, simple, continuous, perfect, perfect continuous, all forms, the main verb will be the past participle, always, without exception. Notice, okay, if I take my main verb, my past participle, and I kind of eliminate that, and now I'm looking at will have been. If I just see will have been by itself, I would recognize that as being, all the way back to the top. Well, there it is. Will have and the past participle of the verb to be. Okay. Well, the passives are always formed this way. This main verb is substituted with the verb to be, whatever form it's supposed to be, and we use whatever normal auxiliaries we use for that verb tense. So you can recognize a passive because if you kind of eliminate or ignore this, your main verb, this indicates the future perfect. Will have been is future perfect by itself. You see? This happens with all of them, every one. Okay. All right. Whatever the form is, the auxiliaries and the verb to be used as kind of a marker or substitute or model, maybe a model, if you will indicate the verb tense, and then you follow it with the main verb. Same thing going on with the other future form. They're going to have completed the project. The project is going to have been completed. Same thing, really, in the passive. Let's try it out. Mustafa, you want to give it a shot?
Passive form?
Yeah.
Okay. All of a sudden, passive form? Okay, the project will have been completed.
Just look at these. Use these as a kind of a, model.
Okay. Um, okay. The meeting will have been announced before, for example, a specific time, before Friday.
All right, there you go. Yeah, okay, great. We don't know who's calling the meeting, who's announcing the meeting. We don't care. It's not important. Yeah, all right, good example. Great.
Okay.
All right, Ginny, you want to give it a try?
Okay, and mm, the essay is going to have been finished.
What? Okay, can you start that again?
The essay
The
is
essay.
the essay is going to have been finished before Christmas Eve.
Steve, are you getting in the Christmas spirit already? Okay. All right. Good job with the verb tense. Just pronunciation. Finished. T sound. Pronunciation of the ed. Finished. And there you go. And I really should be hearing that aspiration, that puff of air. Finished.
Finished.
Better. Much. Okay. Very good. Victor, you want to give it a shot?
Okay. The website will have been tested before the fifth milestone.
Nice. Very practical. I'll just do the short. Okay, I get this. I totally understand this. I used to work with developing websites. I know all about milestones. Okay, good one. Yes, very practical. There you go. Okay, excellent example. Juan Pablo, would you like to give it a try?
Okay, let me try. The car is going to have been assembled before Saturday.
Okay. Cool. All right. The car is going to have been assembled before Saturday. Juan Pablo, do you build cars?
No,
Yeah,
only
okay.
for the example.
Just checking. All right. Cool. All right. You know, a car is going to be assembled. That would be like actually building a whole car, as opposed to fixing a car. Just checking. I just I don't know. Maybe you have that hobby. Okay. Just checking. All right. Again, there's the two forms. Doesn't matter which one you use. Really, the future perfect really only has that one purpose, to show an action before another action or before another specific time in the future. There's really only that one function for the future perfect. Any last questions before we call it not a day really, because I'll be right back, but call it a class? No? Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, guys. Great job. You did excellent. You done good. And I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.
Thank you.